It's hard to put the beauty of a rainbow into words, so let's put it on our eclairs. These are one of my favorite desserts and so hard to find gluten-free, so I just had to make them. Let's do it. So I'm gonna start with my dairy-free milk and heat it up on the stove with some vanilla, and add a little bit of salt, a little bit of sugar, give it a little whisk to get it combined. And when you're making a custard, you don't want to bring it up to a boil right now, you just want to get it warm. And right now, I'm gonna move to my egg yolks. I'm gonna take my 4 egg yolks and whisk them together with my coconut sugar and your starch, and whisk it up. So now this should be warm, and you're gonna slowly pour your milk into your eggs, whisking as you go, so that way they don't curdle. The vanilla smells so good in this. So now that this is all homogeneous, we're gonna go back to our stove top. Bring it up to a boil while whisking constantly. It's looking nice and thick already. So now you're gonna put this into a tray of some sort. Ideally, it's wider rather than taller, so that way the heat can evaporate more quickly, so you get all the goodness. We are ready to put this in the fridge for about 4 hours until it's cold. So now we're gonna move on to make our choux pastry. The way you make choux pastry is you either boil water or milk with some sort of fat. I'm gonna replace butter with coconut oil. Add a little bit of salt. I'm also gonna add a little bit of coconut sugar to this. Now I'm gonna mix together my 2 flours. I'm gonna use rice flour and some arrowroot starch to help everything stay together and look pretty. Whisk them together so they're homogeneous. Okay, so my water, my fat, my sugar and salt have come up to a boil. So I'm gonna whisk it in to my dry ingredients. It's gonna form a sort of paste. Whisk it quickly to avoid having too many chunks. And then we're gonna dry it out by putting it back over the heat again and constantly stir it around until you don't see any water on the bottom. Okay, right on. So I have efficiently removed a lot of the liquid from here, which is what I wanted. Putting it back in the bowl. And now I'm gonna add my eggs one at a time. Add your second egg once it looks like this. It's gonna get easier and easier to mix the more eggs you add. We're adding our last egg. Okay, so right away, you want to put it in your pastry bag. I like using a fitted tip like this because it gives it a nice texture along the edge, but you could just cut the tip off if you don't have one. Now, we're gonna pipe out our eclairs onto a baking sheet by just pulling while applying a little bit of pressure up and gently removing your bag. Alrighty, so bake these in a really hot oven, like 400 degrees Fahrenheit, for 10 to 12 minutes until they're nice and brown. So these look absolutely beautiful. They're nice and golden on the top. My pastry cream has been in the fridge, so it's cold and hardened. I put it in a pastry bag. That way it's easier to fill. The easiest way I found to fill your eclairs is by cutting them in half. And then you're simply going to pipe out your filling that has set very nicely into the middle. And put the top back on. Repeat with all of your eclairs. Right on. So we already have eclairs, but now we're gonna make them rainbow. I'm gonna make a really quick caramel. I'm gonna use coconut sugar, add a little bit of water, and heat it up. You can smell it And you can kind of tell when it's gonna be too dark because it'll start to smell burnt. And right now it's not smelling burnt. Taking that off. And now we act fast before it hardens. So this is our glue. We're gonna take our caramel and run it along the top of our eclairs. And we are going to make them rainbow by adding our different fruits. So I'm gonna start with the kiwi for one. And we have our medley of eclairs. Even better than a double rainbow. And they're gluten-free. Bon appetit.